Fashion Dolls. We are back with our second show for today. Our next special guest is a music artist and an online coach, and I'm super excited to have him here in the dollhouse with us, ladies and gentlemen. Let's welcome Dame Smith. Welcome, welcome, everyone. We are back with our second interview for today, and I hope you guys all are doing awesome today as well. It is Thankful Thursday, close to Friday, and I'm super excited. The weekend has come by so fast. We've had so much that has been going on throughout the week. So, without further ado, let's welcome our incredibly talented special guest. We're going to get into some health things. Dame Smith, ladies and gentlemen. Hello.
Hey, you
Hello.
see me? How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are
I'm
you
doing
doing?
good. It's
It
good to
is
finally
such a
meet you too.
pleasure to have you here. Pleasure to meet you also.
Yeah, I'm outside, so it may be a little noisy, but I can hear you fine though.
Okay, perfect. So, how has 2023 been for you so far? I know we've had a lot going on, ups and downs, this pandemic and whatnot. So, how's 2023 been for you so far?
It's been a bit of a learning experience, really, because I got to kind of learn so much between business, health, fitness, and music, so much different information because I've been, just stuck at home in one spot, really. So that's been the most beneficial part of it. But other than that, it's been pretty regular as far as just trying to stay on top of things and staying on schedule.
Now, you are a music artist and you're also an online coach.
Yes.
So, where do we begin first? The music, or do you want to get into the coaching? Because we're going to talk health. I know a lot of people are trying to get fit for the summer, and that is a key thing that you, following you on your Instagram, that you stay persistent to, as well as myself.
Right.
I try to encourage people to be healthy, not just the fashion, the glamour that people see, but I encourage people also to be healthy in the meanwhile as well, too, so that we can live longer.
Right.
So let's start with the music. Where did you develop the passion for music? At what age did you say, okay, this is something that I want to do?
I think at a very young age, um, I first got introduced to like cassette tapes and listening to different artists like that. Back when DMX was doing mixtapes and things like that, I think my parents had it just laying around the house or something. But when I got interested in actually making music was when I think one of my cousins had an actual piano at home, like one of the little children's pianos, and
Yeah.
they noticed immediately that I gravitated right towards it. And so they wrote the letters on the piano for me, so I learned what each note was, and that helped me when I got in school. So I was able to excel in school, and it wasn't very long when my parents noticed that I was getting A's in music, but a lot of my grades were slipping in the other classes. So they were like, all right, we know exactly what you're trying to do and help me focus on that. So fast forward towards college, I was able to be in marching band, learn to network with other musicians, actually play in a jazz band. I played with Just Us, Just Listen around DC and Maryland, and that taught me a lot about how the music industry works firsthand and getting a lot of firsthand experience working with musicians independently, because in school you're not really going to get that. And so I spend a lot of time trying to educate musicians on how to actually apply a lot of the things we learn in business. And so for me, that was pretty much most of my music career, was learning and putting a lot of what school has taught us to action.
Yes. Shayla Crayola says, hey, babe.
Hey, that's my wife down there. Hey, Shay.
Hi, beautiful. Welcome to the show, Queen. So, music, and we'll get to your wife as well, too, because you both coach and you work out together, which I think is amazing, because it's amazing to work out together as a family and be able to go and encourage other people out here to get healthy and get fit as well, too. So, musically, who are some of your influences?
I would say most of it has been hip hop, and then later in life it grew to be more jazz musician, more instrumentalist, but more specifically, hip hop would be like KRS-One to be classic, and then right now would be Tech Nine, who's currently active, and many other artists that are functioning independently, in a sense, because I'm not really a fan of uh, radio music. I'd like to curate my playlist to a certain taste, if that makes sense. So it'll
Yeah.
have a mix of old school, new school, a little bit of that. So, and then when you go to jazz music, currently I'm listening to Kamasi Washington and Robert Glasper and things like that. So,
Glasper. He's one
yeah,
of my favorites.
yeah, he definitely helped inspire me a lot throughout college and helped me focus on like learning piano and understanding that it can be bigger than just the instrument, because he was able to take his career outside of just, that instrument. So that helped to influence.
Now, now, it's funny you mentioned hip hop. You guys know that it is the 50th anniversary of hip hop music.
Right.
So, with the birth of hip hop, with this era, this generation, what are your thoughts? Because we're seeing the shift from all the way, if your dates all the way back to the late 80s, early
Mhm.
90s, and so forth and so on. Like, there's a history to hip hop. What are your thoughts on the current state of it right
I think right now we're in probably like the first stages of a renaissance as far as business in hip hop, because how we used to consume hip hop back in the day was an artist would put out a song or a record or video, we would go listen to it, and then we would just basically pay for that experience either in a live performance. Now we're basically in these people's houses, we know their family members, we know a lot of different things, and right now as an artist we have either an extreme opportunity or a detriment where we can monetize all of that or we can sacrifice all of that, and it's up in the air because there's no way to control it and to really give leverage to the artist. So if I'm a musician right now and I'm 19 and I'm in school and I want to, let's say, play the trumpet, I have to find a way to market and sell the product of trumpet music to a niche market of people. And navigating that today is very difficult when people are blowing up for TikTok reels,
now?
TikToks, reels, YouTube shorts, and things like that, other than music. So it's very difficult to try to navigate a career for many musicians. And honestly, I think we're not really going to know how to fix that until we just decide to make, a movement. We just go, we're going to go all digital or whatever it is. So, but I think it's just up in the air right now, and we can't really rely on tradition, and we can't really try to plan for the future other than, like I said, just making a decision and sticking to it. So,
Now, as you mentioned in the beginning of the interview, you said cassettes and CDs. I still have
mhm,
my CDs. So now
mhm,
we're seeing the shift of music happen where it's like, okay, everything can be streamed on all of these music outlets.
right,
Whereas back in the day, you could go to BMG. I remember I was flipping through Essence magazine earlier, and I seen BMG. I'm like, oh my God, whatever happened to them? We could order as many cassettes and albums as we wanted to,
right.
and even the vinyls. Like my father still has his vinyls, and it was, I can't remember what music, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes.
Okay,
So we were told growing up not to touch our mama and daddy's
right.
records, because that was a big deal. But now we see why. We're seeing even some of the artists that are coming out now, like Beyonce and so many others, now have their albums put onto vinyl. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that. So because everything's so, all over the place, there is a market for people that still do vinyls and cassettes today. And there's a place, like a website called Bandcamp, where they make a lot of money today selling exclusively vinyls. And people are doing like Kendrick Lamar, Snoop Dogg, very current and up to date music, and they're putting it on records today, and they're still making money. So I've seen artists like on the Griselda camp and things like that, West Side Gun and things like that. They're still doing cassettes. They're still doing, hoodies and T-shirts, the old school way of doing things, and it's working just fine for them. So I'm not really sure how we can really pinpoint things, because then on the other end of it, there's, like I said, artists that are making just music for a dance or things like that.
To be ahead of the trend.
Mm-hmm.
Funko Girl, yes, it
Funko
was
Land,
a great music store. Yes, and FYE, they took out all the music
FYE.
stores. So it's just like these things where, and even in Walmart, they would have where you could listen to the album. All of those things that we've experienced, the nostalgia, is what people want back. now we're seeing this shift of music. What can you predict? Now the year is almost out. Well, yeah, halfway out of 2023, going into 2024. I'm asking you and your wife Shayla and the audience as well too. What do you guys will predict will be the next generation for music? Because we already got touchscreen phones, we've got touchscreen televisions, computers, and everything. What do you guys predict will be in the next generation for music?
I think it's going to be a level of classism in music. So
Mm,
you'll start to see people who own certain catalogs or have access to certain artists and things like that that you'll see longer than artists who are just putting out more music than others, because there's a new shift to ownership now and actually having um, assets as a musician. So
mm,
versus having the notoriety and the brand, it's about having the catalog, having the publishing, or maybe having those royalties. And a lot of record labels are also selling out stock access to other artists' royalties. So like you can buy a stock of, let's say, the Ludacris Fast and Furious record. The royalties you get from that, you can invest into it and get dividends from that. And so that's open to the public because it's not, independent to just that artist, Ludacris. With that being understood, I think many people who have the resources, just more money, more assets, and things like that, they're going to be able to really dictate what the market's going to do. And so if we want to go digital, if we want to go streaming, that'll be how they're going to do it.
You know what you just said that really you delve deep into it, and I'm gonna get into it too because a lot of artists have talked about that as well too. You guys know that Prince and Michael Jackson are two of my favorite artists as well too.
Mm-hmm.
And before Prince passed away, it's so unfortunate because he was genius. You said something that stood out, and that is owning marketing and owning your
Right.
masters. Even TLC, T-Boz, the lead singer of TLC, she said something about that as well too. And you're hearing stories where the Taylor Swifts and the Ashantis and all of these artists are having to go back in the studio and re-record their
Yeah.
albums.
Yep.
And make sure that you guys own your masters. That's something that Prince was very, very advocate on, which is writing and producing your own music. If you have your own management team, which he did have his own record label of managing his own artists as well too, and producing his own music. So one thing about that, what advice would you give to people on owning their masters and writing their music? Because we're hearing so many things come out about the music industry, whereas people are getting sued. Oh, you don't own the rights to this, or you use the sample of this, or this contains a sample of this. So what
Right.
advice would you give to music artists for you being in the music game for so long? What advice would you give to artists on owning their masters?
I would say, from my experience of going to college, it
Yeah,
has taught me how to be a musician underneath somebody, meaning under the control and leverage of another person.
that
And
late.
once I got out of college, I got to see what it's like to be independent. So I've gotten to see both sides. And what I usually tell other musicians or even younger musicians is that you have to understand what you're good at and what you can truly leverage. So like I was good at songwriting and performance, and I wasn't that good at business, and that's what I learned when I got out of college. Was there was a lot more business you had to figure out. But then once I figured out the business, next it was figuring out different systems and things like that.
Oh yeah.
But that can be time consuming for somebody, or that can just be expensive or just something they don't want to do. So then I'll suggest the option of getting signed or maybe partnering with somebody or a group that has resources that you can use. And that way you can have the leverage of maybe brand marketing. They're setting up shows for you, or maybe they're booking venues. But then at the same time, you're also able to focus on studio time and create and things like that. So for me, I have more fun doing everything and it works for me. But it does get more daunting when I have to do everything. So that's something I usually tell people, because it's not always like don't get signed, record labels are evil. It's just about what really works for you as an artist.
And your wife, she says, I'm hoping that it's more like young people like Billie Eilish. Yes, we're seeing
Yeah.
the shift of music nowadays, even with R&B, is not like how it used to be. It's more, how would I say, commercial more than compared to back in the day, where it's just like people sing from the heart, they sing with the
Mhm.
feeling. And that's what people are looking for. Again, that nostalgia. And there are some artists who give you that jazz influence, because you said jazz as well too, and some that'll give you a gospel influence as well too. So we're seeing the shift. in the music industry happened compared to the 90s, which we were so used to. And it's timeless because it captured the essence of amazing music. And so did the 80s and the 70s and the
Yeah.
60s and so forth and so on. So we're going to shift gears here because we covered music, which is also great and key into having a healthy mindset. Let's talk health for a moment because you and your wife, Shayla, you guys both exercise together and
Mhm.
are out here encouraging people to stay healthy, to stay fit. Like I've seen clips of both of you, especially you guys cooking together and working out together. What advice would you give to people on restoring their confidence? Because I know the key thing to having is not just about having a, oh, my body has to look perfect, but for me, working in fashion is all about confidence. So, what are some of the outer resources that people can use to help them achieve their goals if they're trying to drop a few pounds, get in shape for the summer? Because I know that is the key thing that people are focused
I think a lot of things people can use is just being aware of the options they have.
on. Yeah.
So for me, I struggled with weight, but I was also living a lifestyle where I had the seafood diet, where I would just seafood and eat it.
Mm, so
And
many of
so
them.
yeah, and so once I started tracking my food, which is the first thing I got good at, it really told me what I was eating. And then I started to understand, okay, this day I had a bad mood. I must have done something wrong with what I ate, or this day my stomach wasn't feeling right, or this day I didn't get enough sleep. So that information helped me make better choices, and then over time I just developed better habits and muscle memory. But I think for a lot of people, we aren't really pushed to look for that information. And so I try to just put it in the forefront because for me, I learned about being obese, I learned about body fat percentage and all these things like that through me actually wanting to find it out. Like nobody was really like, hey, you're overweight, you need to do this. Nobody came to that conclusion for me. So I think once people can just have the information just as readily available as like maybe watching a TikTok reel, then it should be easy to consume and make better choices.
And there's a saying that goes like this: you are what you eat. So what you put in your body is a reflection of you. Your wife just says, for me, it's about trying to make better recipes for us to eat. And for those of you who
Yeah.
have children out there, you encourage your children to eat healthy. I mean, listen, how am I able to stay in shape and fit in all these gowns? I would never know. But I know it's bad, but I go and I eat a lot of junk food. But I'm just like, no, I kind of had, especially with the most recent health issues that I've had, I said, okay, it's time for me to do a change of lifestyle choice. I need to be around because I have a nephew that is coming into this world and I'm going to be an aunt. So I'm like, I need to change. I want to be better and I want to be around longer for me and my family. So I've discovered eating more fruits and vegetables, staying away from fried foods, and finding an alternative that would work better for me. My mom, she even told me, diabetes, as we all know, is the key thing in us in African American.
Mm.
And I was doing a little research. I was reading up, and it says that in 2018, African American adults were 60% more likely than non-Hispanic white adults to be diagnosed with diabetes by a physician. So these numbers are scary. And we've
Yeah.
lost so many people to this pandemic who already have pre-existing conditions. So, what are steps and measures that people can take to make sure that they are on the right track to staying healthy?
And I have some family members that have this, diabetes and things like that. So
Yeah.
for me, it's personal, but I think the first thing I can tell people is to track your food because you have to know what you're eating. And the next thing is to understand the lifestyle you're living, which means if you go to a job and you sit down for your job, that means you're less active than you need to be. Something as simple as that, once you understand that, then you can be aware of the options you have of maybe taking a walk or taking the stairs and things like that. These things we've heard, but they're not a pillar in our lifestyle, for example. And I think when it comes to the Black community, our
Yeah.
connection to food and movement is probably number 9 on a list of top 10 things of our priorities.
I think Dane just called me out, y'all, because called me into the corner because one thing I do after I eat, and I think that's for us as people of color, we lay down.
Mhm.
And this is the key thing
I
because
do
I
it
just
too.
recently
I catch myself
discovered
doing it.
with reflux. Anybody who suffers with reflux, I know I do. I lay down after I eat, and they said, "No, you got to get up, you got to move. After you've gotten so comfortable, the food is so good, and it's all about enjoying the comfort food.
Yeah.
But you got to get up, you got to move." And for me, I've learned that I don't, just lay down. I get up and I try to move because that food can get right up in here. And for those of you who have reflux, so it's
And it could be
difficult.
something as simple as just cleaning around the house, just straightening up, just walking around the house, because people think, oh, I got to work out. And they think of maybe like P90X. And it's like, if you can just get your body moving all day long, you'll see way more calories burned over the years than you would just sitting here thinking. So just keep it super simple and just stay active. That's how I try to, encourage people, not try to make it super intense. Even when it comes to your steps, just making sure you have a goal that you can reach and making sure you're hitting it. Don't set a goal you can't hit because you'll never do it. So make it super simple
And,
and keep your lifestyle simple, I guess.
and to add on to that, there are so many apps out here that you can download that'll help you track your steps as well too. And that was going to be my next question for you. What are three specific health goals that people can achieve?
I would say trying to lower their body fat percentage
Yeah.
and tracking their food. I'm always going to say that. And trying to implement physical activity into their lifestyle. So I'm a musician, and when I was in college, when I started working out and learning how to track food and
Yeah.
steps, first thing I noticed was I'm sitting in front of the computer way too long. Like I would wake up in the morning, do my daily routine, and be on the computer from like 7 a.m. to like 11. That's a long time. And so it wasn't until you get into marching band do we start doing band practice, physical education, and things like that that's keeping my body active. And then over the years, I started learning how to do different things like just doing 10 minutes of stretching in the morning, adding yoga for 30 minutes, or maybe
Mhm.
doing a walk outside or things like that. But for most people, these aren't even options because when they think of exercise, they think of a track, a gym, some weights, a bunch of crazy stuff that makes it so much harder to do. So
And that's for people who want the intensity. So, what are some of your short and long term goals when it comes to helping people get healthy? What are some of the short and the longer?
I would say my first short-term goal would be to help at least one person by at least next year to lose 10 pounds. And then a long-term goal would to be to have a group of people of at least 100 or more tracking their food.
Wow. Yeah.
I think that would be a good long-term goal within like the next 3 years.
Now, what is your daily self talk? Because I follow your stories and we all follow each other, but you always encourage people. So, what is your daily self talk mantra that you give yourself to keep going?
Um, I try to be an example, and I try to help people understand that being an example is hard, whereas trying to be an example and it being so difficult can be discouraging. So when you see people that you look up to, try to understand that what they're doing is difficult. And when people see me, I try to hope that the clarity that I speak with or the level of, passion as far as trying to be thorough with how I'm speaking should help people understand that this is something that you have to work at. It's not something that's given to you. It's something that you have to actually plan, take steps, and honestly see past failure for. So that's honestly how I try to give it to people. And for most of them, it's going to take time. They can't hear that sentence and then just say, yes, I agree. You kind of have to feel it and understand it. And when it hits you, you every day you'll wake up kind of repeating it and understanding that that's who you want to be and you'll choose to do it every day.
Shayla says, my short term goal is to just gain a little weight. Girl, and I think a lot of women, we have that problem where we're just like, okay, I want to gain just a little bit. So what advice would you give to women who are looking to gain just a little bit?
Just a little bit would be knowing what kind of weight you want to gain, because I would say the weight gain that most women are looking for is an aesthetic gain where you
Yeah.
just have like a filling look maybe to your dresses and your hips and pants and things like that. Now that could be something as quick as like I just ate, a bunch of carbs for 2 weeks and you just kind of plump up. But I think the weight that most women truly need is going to be that like musculature. They're going to need that real joint health weight where you're not going to be too skinny to where you can't take a fall, but you're big enough to where you can lift yourself up if you do fall. I think a lot of women have that. So for them, I would say try to make sure you have a level of accountability amongst yourself, like a lot of the apps we use, or maybe get a coach and things like that, so you can see how you're gaining weight, because gaining weight can get off track very easily, where you're just eating just to be eating and satiate the fact that you just want to gain weight and not really have a specific goal to reach. And then the next thing would be to just make sure that once you reach your goal, it's something that your lifestyle can maintain. Because if I've learned anything from watching male bodybuilders, is that once you get to a certain size, it's difficult to eat 3,000 calories a day and get your, you know, your weightlifting and all that stuff in there. So most women aren't trying to do that, but it is different where you go from eating 2,000 calories to 2,800 calories, and that's probably the difference between 2 meals a day, and that can be a lot for people over time.
Now, how long would it take for most people to see a change? If they want to see a change of like if they're gaining muscle mass or wanting to gain weight, how long would you think that would take for someone?
Typically, people usually gain about a pound a week, and that's about eating probably 200 to 500 calories over what they normally do.
Right.
But the thing is it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of precision to do it, because if you're just eating the wrong nutrients, like too much fat or something like that, then you're not really building muscle, and it's not possibly going to be the aesthetic you want in the time you want either. So what girls would typically notice is you'll get lean in the arms, like a lot of the very I guess you could say top layer fat would go. Like you'll get skinny in the face and the arms and things like that. But like belly fat will be like the last thing to go. Thigh fat would be the last thing to go, because the tissue there is so thick that the muscle has like fat deep in it. So in order for you to get to that, that's going to take like probably a good maybe 6 months of just lean precision just to get
Yeah.
yourself to where you want to be. Yeah, it takes time just to build yourself up. But like I said, there's two different goals. You got the I want to fill my dress for this wedding, or you got I'm trying to look like, Roxy or something,
Shayla says, I'm trying to be thick with 3 C's. Girl, come borrow some of my hips. My girlfriend Felicia was teasing me just the other day, and she seen me put on a dress or whatever. And she said, girl, you got a whole peach back there. I said, it's the quarantine. We've all been eating during the quarantine, and now we're trying to lose that weight. A lot of people are going on vacation to the beach and whatnot. So my next question for you is, how is coaching different from working with a personal trainer to anyone out there?
Okay. Well, I've recently just started coaching, and that was one of the biggest differences that they made clear to us, was that the difference is that when you have an online coach, you have basically a 24/7 best friend that's going to help you
Mhm.
get your goal met. Now, with a personal trainer, you get them an hour a day, and it's only for that workout or however you scheduled it. But they're not tracking your food, they're not tracking your habits. You can't come to them for like problems about how to meal prep or how to properly, work on assessing your lifestyle for your different goals. That takes a little more. Usually trainers are charging you more for that, but an online coach, we can see all the data, Fitbit, Apple Health, all of that, and we can tell you what problems are where, and we can predict what problems you may have in the future.
And it's just like when you go to the doctor's office. I see my mom, she was working on something, and they will give you your chart on your vitals and everything. So the
Right.
coach will be able to do the same thing.
Right.
So my next question, because we can't forget about our black men. It's obvious, Dame, you're a black man. And I've interviewed several black men on this platform, and they've been candid and transparent about staying healthy. So
Mm-hmm.
we know that most men are insecure about going to the doctor. They don't want to go to the doctor. They fear going to the doctor when it comes to their health because they don't want to find anything. What would be your advice to black men on staying healthy, especially during the summer? And of course, as I stated in the beginning of the show, we talked about diabetes and the numbers. The stats are high. I mean, they go up every day,
Yeah.
especially for us as African Americans, that high blood sugar. So what advice would you give to black men on staying healthy?
The First thing I would tell them, because this is one thing I've noticed, especially with black men older than me, is to audit your lifestyle. Really take a look at what you should remove and what is truly excess in your lifestyle. A lot of us are on a path of drinking alcohol, excess eating, and as we spoke earlier, a lot of relaxation. But it's in the idea of I've worked so hard, I should relax now, versus finding the balance between work and life and having a lifestyle that's just active. Like I've seen people on Instagram, they skateboard, they ride bikes, they take hikes and things like that. This is just what they do, but it seems to be that a lot of us have this either fear of risk when it comes to our health or this fear of having to actually fix a problem. And yeah, like I said, the best advice would be try to take an audit of what truly you are adding to your life that you need to get rid of.
And go to the doctor. That's for all of us as people of color. If
Yeah.
you know that something is off, please go get checked out and talk about it. And that's, so that we can live around. Because I've heard so many stories about black men getting colon cancer
Hmm.
and diabetes. Of course, that runs rapidly because it's like you said, it goes from generation to generation. My
Yeah.
older brother has it, my mom has it, my grandmother has it, my father has it. My grandmother has it. So it's like it goes from generation to generation. And we have to break that cycle as people of color. We have to be healthier
Yeah.
in order to live a long time. And Shayla says having a coach for a husband is great. How do you guys find the balance with marriage and coaching and making sure that you motivate each other to stay healthy and encouraged?
I think it's mostly trying to make it cooperative and fun instead of making it a chore. And that's one way that I think we make it work, because if you try to make it, too much of a we need to get this done type of thing versus we have a goal to meet, so that's why we need to get this done. It's a better perspective on working out and working together to work out as well.
What is some of the best advice that Shayla is giving you, and what is some advice that you've given her along the way? Because I'm pretty sure for you
Yeah.
both, as a couple, you both encourage each other along the way. As a family, as a unit, you are a team. So, what is some of the best advice that she's giving you?
Pretty much for me, the best advice she's given me is to try to take a more positive outlook on the goals, because sometimes when goals get difficult, most of the time you're looking at how it could fail versus how
Yeah.
you could fix it. And so once you figure out how to fix it, that's that first step that she usually guides me through. Is like, all right, we can see the problem now. Let's try and actually solve it. But then when it comes to what I've taught her is typically how to manage your appetite. Like a lot of times she'll be tired or maybe just, exhausted from dealing with the day. And I'm like, you need to eat something that's going to give you energy and not something that's
You're
going to feel
right.
good. Yeah, because a lot of what we eat to, just feel good, it just sits on our stomach and then the cycle continues. We're relaxing again. We're not burning any calories and it's turning into fat all over again. So,
Now, what is some advice that you've given her? Because as husband and wife, you guys encourage each other, and I see it all throughout my family unit and my friends as well too. So, what is some of the advice that you've given her along?
oh, that's what I give her about the food. I give her the advice about how food affects your mood, basically. And a lot of it really comes in the portion sizes too, as well, too. We like to snack and we like to, drink tall cup beverages, I guess you could say. Like, most glasses, they have the short glass or the tall glass. We just grab the tall one because we just have, the gluttonous attitude. But I try to suggest serving sizes and understand how it's going to affect your mood throughout the day and give you more energy.
That's something I got to work on. Because I always go for the
Yeah.
large. Even when I'm at a restaurant or wherever, I always go for the biggest size they have. And I know it's so wrong. I've seen it on TikTok, but there was a dessert treat and it was in a tall cup. It was Captain Crunch and they put caramel drizzle. Yeah, I know it's bad. It's bad. But it looked so good. It's so bad, but and it looks so good, but it's just like I can't have it. But yeah, so I always go for the bigger size. So now I've learned with reflux, for anybody out there who suffers with reflux, you have to go with smaller portions
Mm.
of things. So, what advice would you give to anybody who suffers with reflux or who is, having trouble eating or digesting?
Usually, what I tell people with digestive issues is to eat simpler meals as far as how they're made up.
Yeah.
So, my go to meal if I have nothing to eat would be like meat, rice, and a vegetable. Now, there, most people would start adding sauces, butters, seasonings, and things like that. That's where you get the complications in digestion usually because of all the things that may be in the seasoning salt or
Mm.
how you may react to dairy or whatever else your body may need. But if you can eat as clean as possible, I think your body will appreciate how easy it is to digest simple foods.
Yeah, you got to start
Yeah,
out small and not go for the bigger foods. And I can only imagine to anybody when the holidays get here before you know it, because August, September, October, November, Thanksgiving, we
yeah, yeah,
sit down and we're at the family dinner table. There's so much food, and you sit there in the chair, but you got to get up and move. Or else it'll go back up here. It'll go back up here in your chest. For
yeah,
anybody who suffers with reflux or know of it, it's no joke. So start off
yeah,
smaller. All
yeah.
right, before we conclude Fashion Dolls, Dame, are there any words of encouragement or any projects that you have coming up, and what can people expect for you in the future?
Words of encouragement, I would say to try and be positive about the future
Yeah.
and expect the best. And that's only because you're doing the best right now. But as far as what I'm doing would be you can find me on YouTube as my main, I guess, headquarters, and I'll be posting music. I'm going to be posting more food and health things there. And if you want to just do health things, then you can find me on Instagram. But that's it for me.
All right, Fashion Dolls. I'm going to leave you guys with the word of the day, which comes from Audre Lorde. Now, she says, when I dare to be myself, to use my strength in the service of my vision, the if becomes less and less important, whether I am afraid. And that comes from Audre Lorde. Dare to do the unthinkable, dare to do the impossible. And I create vision boards. I don't know how many of you guys know that. So, one of the key words on my vision board is dare. And I've always lived my life vicariously, unafraid, unashamed, and fearlessly. So that would be my advice to anybody who is looking to get healthy, to stay encouraged, and seek the impossible. Uh-oh, I think we lost Dane, ladies and gentlemen. But I hope you guys enjoyed this great conversation and you guys took in some tips away that could help with this interview. Oh, you guys can see the full dress today. I don't know if Dana's still here or not, but I want you guys to take that away from today's shows. Both of them, we talked about staying healthy, staying in tune with yourself. Self love begins with you. So I want you guys to stay encouraged and to always keep your head up. And remember, there is something amazing inside of each and every one of us. So special thanks to Dane and Shayla for coming to the dollhouse. I had such a great time both shows today with Bryant Defon and Dame Smith. We definitely got to set something back up. Joining me tomorrow, the Jackson family on YouTube, all about the Jacksons. On Friday, Fashion Dolls, and our August lineup will go up Monday. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Well, I'm sure he had a great time. This was wonderful. Girl, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was so great to be able to link up with other Black women who have the same vision as I do, which is staying healthy. So, Shayla, it was good to meet you, girl. And we got to have you on the show. So you DM me and you let me know. Dame is back. He said his phone overheated. I was about to close out, Dame. So if you want to come back up, you're more than welcome to. But I had such a great time. And I want you guys to take away from these conversations because it's pivotal for us as African Americans to remain healthy. The key thing for us is to live a long time, to be around for our children and the next generation of our families. I'm only 29 years old, for those of you who have wondered. Um, and I want to make it to my 30s. Like my 30th birthday will be here on Halloween, October 31st. And I want to be around for my nephew that is coming into the world. So I had to make some lifestyle choices. And as you guys can see from the outside as well as the inside, you see a big difference. and I feel so much better. So I enjoyed today's shows, Dame and Shayla. It was such a pleasure to meet both of y'all. I gotta have y'all both back on the show. So we will talk, all three of us. I would love to have y'all on together in the fall. So I'm gonna message both of you. I'll definitely DM you soon. I'd love to hop on. Girl, yes, let me know. I'd love to have you on for like a women's health segment if that works too. Your birthday is on the 20th. My mom's is on the 7th, and mine's is on the 31st. All right, Scorpio Libra. Yes. Oh my God, I can't wait. And I've already got my costume. If you guys are wondering, nope, I'm not going to say what it is. You guys just have to stay tuned. Again, expect the unexpected with Miss Stevie because I'm a mystery. I always try to do the unthinkable. And that's what I encourage you guys to do as well, too. Scorpio Libra season is coming in full effect. So y'all better watch out. I think it's Virgo season right now, right? So y'all better stay tuned because Scorpio Libra season is here. Dane, Shayla, it was great catching up with both of y'all and chatting with both of y'all and meeting both of y'all. I would love to have y'all both on in the fall. So y'all message me and we're going to set it up. And I want you guys to make sure that you head on over and subscribe to Dane's channel. Again, joining me tomorrow, we have David Jackson, all about the Jackson family. He will be here with us tomorrow, closing out this week. And the August lineup will go up Monday. I don't want to put it out too soon, so we're going to put it out closer to the date. So we're going to put it out Monday. So make sure you guys are staying tuned for more fashion, all things fashion and Bath and Body Works and smell good. Make sure you guys are following me, follow my stories. I love you all, and head on over and subscribe to Style by Stevie Daytime on YouTube. You guys take care, and y'all be great. Mwah.